for this work.
Assetto Corsa is something that is very dear to me. After all, it's one of the pillars that this channel is built on. We're talking about checking out tracks, cars, finding out the possibilities that you can do with them. Whatever, you know, you've seen the videos. If you haven't seen them, go see them on my channel, give me views. But today's video isn't about that per se. Today's video is about the dark underbelly in the sim racing community, the sim racing modding community that has been exploiting YouTube in the veneer and the cracks that exist in sim racing, and they are being exploiting like termites. Speaking of termites, segue to our sponsor, Raid Bug Spray. No, there's no sponsor for this channel, just press subscribe and press like. Anyway, let's expand the topic of the video. As you know, Sim Racing 604 was copyright striked by a team of sim racing swindlers called SimDream. He spoke about their practices in detail. He spoke about how they steal other people's mods, sell them without proper authorization from the modders, and strikes whomever highlights this group's behavior. Mike was then victim of what he spoke about. I learned about what happened to Mike through someone I follow on Twitter, so Stephen Bailey. Then I thought that the situation was very time sensitive, so a video was created and uploaded in less than 30 minutes from that moment. The thought process was essentially to deny SimDream a way to react through the sheer volume of people speaking about it. So users on Reddit, on Twitter, anywhere really that I could make them speak about. But most importantly, it was to rely on others in such a way it would make my video speaking about it irrelevant. It goes without saying that uploading that video, and this video for that matter, is a code brown moment. More so because I don't like to rely on others, so that fear needed to be addressed then and there. In regards to what happened to Sim Racing 604, the current situation we are on, being afraid of talking about something like SimDream development, can only happen in a landscape of how YouTube operates and how outdated copyright law is. I am not a lawyer. Seriously, somebody needs to create a better acronym. I am not a lawyer, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. This is my understanding of the situation. First of all, we need to speak about copyright. The definition of copyright is a type of intellectual property that gives its owner the exclusive right to make copies of a creative work. A creative work, in what sim racing is concerned, it's the digital representation of a real life work. So in this case, a car, a track, or a livery, or something along those matters. This is exactly where there are licensing deals to get those tracks and those cars in sim racing games, often at very high costs. Companies pay for the right to have that representation of a car, of a track, in a video game. The representation will also be a work itself with copyright, which, the way I understand it, it will be with the company that creates that digital representation. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, Polyphony Digital pays Toyota to have the best car in the world, the 86 Sprinter Torino. The 86 itself is a work with the copyright. Toyota owns the copyright for the car. So Polyphony will create the model for GT Sport, and that model, the digital model, is subject to copyright. You can't just pick it up, rip it, and sell it. The modding community is filled with these types of work where copyright is infringed, I'm sad to say. Mod cars and tracks, if they don't have the express consent from companies that hold the copyright, they are in breach of the law. In my eyes, there's really no other way around it. Adding to all of it, I don't really think that changing names to whatever fake brands, even if you create a model from scratch, would be free from copyright, even if there's such a thing as fair use. It is my opinion that companies that hold the copyright tolerate these breaches because generally it doesn't take away sales from their titles, and profits aren't really being made by these developers or these mod creators, so they turn a blind eye and some sort of peace is established between these brands, these groups, and also the companies that hold the copyrights. The DMCA system is also an integral part of this equation. It's really easy to jump on YouTube, and I'm not a guy that wants to be seen as defending YouTube, but they are acting in the way they can. Sadly, YouTube only has a couple of choices. Either they curate individually all uploaded content in their platform, which would completely destroy YouTube as a platform for speaking out, because it's an impossible task to curate everything. So in order to protect their backs against corporations, against copyright holders, against a lot of things, they need to have a system in place for claiming work, claiming copyright as fast as possible. YouTube doesn't have the tools and manpower to filter copyright trolls in their entirety, especially under COVID, and I'm not really sure if they would be legally protected by doing so, even if they had the manpower. At some level, these shady modding teams understand this situation, so they exploit flaws and blind sides in the current arrangement of things. The blind sides start where these companies currently operate. They normally do so outside of areas with more robust legal systems like European Union, North America, United Kingdom. So they will be exploiting the system that was made with those systems in mind. Therefore, SimDream, according to the Whois, as a site operating from Moldova, giving them an escape route against any legal push against them. Likely, even if it was possible to find who they are, it's expensive to pursue a legal case against them. But who would try to do that in a country that wouldn't have a fair legal system? So they claim copyright for themselves while stealing work from others that, I'm sad to say, they don't hold the copyright themselves. They silence others abusing blind spots while in the comfort of being outside a fair legal system, and they get away with it. The best way to fight groups like these is hit them in their wallet by making everyone aware of what they do and being protected in the safety of numbers. As you probably can understand with what happened to SimRacing 604 and what happens in YouTube oftentimes with the MCA takedowns, the current copyright law is very much outdated. It was meant for a different internet. It was made for an internet when Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky were actually relevant. So it was a completely different thing 25 years ago. It's my opinion that something similar to a small claims court, but for digital, needs to be created. Something that can have a couple of hours turnaround for something that's simple and easy to understand what is wrong and what is right, as in the case of SimRacing 604 and many other cases. But then again, that is my opinion. There is nothing that I can do. I'm just a small channel on the internet that drives pretend race cars. The best way we have is basically gang up together when we see this happening in our community.